Good morning, you guys. I got me a cup of tea, blessed, and let's kind of catch up on what's going on around here. So, some of you guys may know that here where I live in Texas, we have been hit with quite a snowstorm over the last week or so. So, I'm going to turn the camera around so you guys can see what it looks like outside right now. That is my backyard out of my window, and it has been freezing. So this snowstorm has not just only hit Texas, it's hit Arkansas pretty hard where some of my family is, you guys, and it was below zero there. I think we hit like -5 there over the last couple of days. The energy companies started to send us messages about controlled blackouts. A lot of people in Texas have actually been without water and power for the last 4 days. It's icicles forming in people's homes because of the power not being on. The same goes for people who have, I saw a lot of people have bursting pipes. We put ours on a drip in our house, kind of keep it running all the time because I've seen a couple people's water lines, their pipes burst and completely flood their homes, which is terrible when it's already freezing outside. The energy company asked if you still had power to not use as much of it, I guess you could say. So we pretty much don't have anything on in our house. Here it's just been rather cold. We don't go outside. We typically stay in one room of the house all day long. It's just been helpful to be in one room and one room only. Kind of stays warm and we don't have to move, especially if we're in our master because we have a bathroom in here. We don't have to go out. We've had our faucets dripping nonstop. I think my mom's froze over in Arkansas. So yeah, it's been a crazy last few days. I don't know. Even though we have power, I think it's important to try to conserve. There's a lot of people who don't have it right now. We're trying to see if we can help some people, but all the people that are in need are so far away. So yeah, we're going to do our part to try to help the most we can. I hadn't ran my dishwasher in about 5 days. I hadn't done load laundry in about the same amount of time. Been hand washing the dishes. Like everything has been done manually since the storm hit. Because I don't want to just run unnecessary things. Everything that we're not using is unplugged or turned off. Like I said, we use one light at a time. Pretty much wherever room we're in, lights on. But during the daytime, we don't have on any lights during the day because it's sunny. Well, it's not sunny, but it's not dark. As you guys can see, we got enough light. There's something on my mind that's been rubbing me the wrong way, and I want to tell you guys about it. Well, as some of you guys may know, over this last week, I live in Texas. We got hit with a really bad snowstorm. A couple of things have been bothering me. One has been people acting as if it hasn't been as bad. Oh, that's not really as bad as people get snow other places. Da, 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 da. And the other thing is electricity, right? So let's talk about the first one. So for all the people who keep saying, oh, it's not really an emergency and this, that, and the other, you guys, a lot of y'all come from places where it snows often. Texas don't get that much snow. I've been in Texas now for since college, 11 years. And if it snows, either it doesn't stick, so it just melts immediately. And if it does stick, it doesn't stay longer than a day and a half, maybe 2. Not used to snow here. No one talks about when these places get hit with snowstorms. We just pray for these places, right? You're talking about a place where it's sunny. It's 80 degrees in the wintertime. The thing that upsets me most is that people try to discredit one storm by comparing it, or discredit one disaster by comparing it to someone else's disaster. A disaster is a disaster. That's it. A natural disaster is a natural disaster. It doesn't matter on what scale it is. It doesn't matter if it's a lot to you or if it's not a lot to you. It's a disaster regardless. Here in this state, people froze to death. Let's put that into context for you guys who keep saying that this isn't that bad. An 11-year-old boy here went outside to play for the first time in the snow. Hadn't seen snow. 11 years old. The next day, he froze to death. An 11-year-old boy lost his life in the snow because it was so cold. Because his family lost power. So everybody who keeps saying, oh, it's not a disaster, it's not a disaster. How was it not a disaster? People froze to death. That's the thing. It's not just one place that this has happened in. Everywhere in Texas this has happened. In Abilene, an old couple were at home. They didn't want to go to a warming shelter. The wife was sitting in a recliner that took her to the emergency room when they found her. The husband froze to death in his bed under multiple blankets. It was 12 degrees in the house. How is this not a disaster? Especially since this happened all over the state. I know personally people who went without power and without water for 5 days. In freezing temperatures. How was it not a disaster? Please make it make sense to me. Make it make sense how you can talk about a situation, one, that you're not in, and two, where people have died. This isn't just one isolated incident. This happened all over the state. Not to mention the pile-up accident of 133 cars on an interstate with big trucks careening into little bitty tiny cars with people in them. Because they could not stop. How people bother me when they do that. That doesn't make any sense. Regardless of if it happened to you or if it's on the same scale of something that happened to you, it's happening to someone. And in this state, it's not normal. And they were not prepared for it. No one in the state was prepared for that, because when people say, oh, it's going to snow here, it normally does not really snow. No one was prepared. The electric companies weren't prepared. The water companies weren't prepared. The police, the ambulances, the EMTs, the hospitals. No one was prepared for the storm. They tried to prepare, but they couldn't prepare for the scale of what happened. People lost their homes. What about this is okay to you? Pipes bursting, houses flooding, houses catching on fire because people trying to just stay warm and they couldn't figure out how to stay warm. It just amazes me how insensitive people can be. Now let's just get to the other part. The electric companies failed Texas. Not just the electric companies, because the government that put this thing into place the way it is failed this state, period. Failed. And people have to go without power for 4 to 5 days. And if you had power, they jacked the prices up to where it's pretty much a price that you cannot afford. Let's talk about the first half of that. So there was a mayor here in Texas who has resigned. I'll put what he said somewhere in this, anywhere, somewhere for you guys to see it. But basically he said that the electric companies and the water companies don't owe anybody anything, and that it's pretty much only the strong will survive. First off, that was stupid. I don't care what you say, that's stupid. The second thing is, yes, they do. They entered a contract with these people. You pay your bill, you get your utilities, period. There is no, they don't owe you a thing, BS. If you paid your bills, even if you didn't pay your bills, say you're behind, they don't just shut you off, right? So if you paying these people, if you are paying these people, you're supposed to have your stuff turned on, right? So why are people going 4 and 5 days without power and water? Now this isn't just a handful of people. This is 3 million plus without power and water. Make it make sense. Anybody make it make sense? Anybody? And then price gouging. So there's supposed to be laws and things put into place so that companies can't do things like this in a natural disaster. On the 15th, the second day of the storm, they retracted that. So that companies could price gouge. So if you were one of the people that was fortunate enough to have power, even if it was every now and again, even if you have one day, you're going to get an outrageous bill. And I mean outrageous. There's a family, Dallas, middle of Dallas, $10,000 power bill for 4 days. Rockwall, he owns a home, a little bit bigger than the one I live in, about 400 square feet bigger than where I live. power bill for her 4 or 5 days. $5,000. Family just got a bill yesterday. $16,000. These aren't companies. These are private residences. This is a private residence, you guys. Now, we were fortunate enough to have our power, because once this happened, they sent out a memo or email to conserve energy, because that first day where the snow hit, the day before it dropped, and I mean it dropped. We were out getting groceries and it was freezing. And on Valentine's Day, they sent out memos, tried to conserve energy. So that's what we did. We did that. We turned everything off. I didn't run my dishwasher, my washer and dryer for a week. I turned everything off. The minute they said conserve energy or people gonna start losing their power, we shut everything down. We didn't even use our fireplace. It's covered up. We boxed it up because air was getting through. This is for those of you who thought I was kidding. This is my fireplace. When we told to conserve energy, we do not use our fireplace because our fireplace is gas, and the gas is also connected to the electricity. The electricity and the gas are with the same company. So when they said conserve energy, our fireplace was boxed up so that the air would not come through the chimney. And because it was colder in this area, because of it, we covered it up. So there's a box, and then there's a trash bag. I'll show you. On the inside. And some old fabric to stop letting the air in at the bottom. This was just to keep it warmer on this side of our house. So yes, when we said conserve, we conserved everywhere. And this is one of those measures that we had to take. We had one light on at night. Whatever room we were in had a light. We maybe during the day had a TV on for the little one. Most of the time he's just on his tablet. And my husband's computers for work, because some of the people that he works with lost power completely. So he had to take on other people's cases because of the fact that they couldn't work. Everybody didn't do that. I'm sure everybody didn't do it. Everybody doesn't do it. We probably had the power and the heat cranked up, because that's what happened while the blackouts started. It was supposed to be controlled blackouts. They were not controlled. Some people did. Not going to pretend like some people didn't, but it wasn't what it was supposed to be. Supposed to be like 1 hour on, 1 hour off, and for some it was like 8 hours. 8 hours off, 1 hour on, and then some people just completely lost power altogether. So we did go around and check on the people in our neighborhood, the older people for sure, just to make sure they were okay. When I went to check on my neighbor, you guys, he was in full sweats in his house. I'm talking full sweats. He was as warm as he could be in his sweats. And for the people who did have their power, for the people who got their power on and off again, the bills are going to be outrageous. And the most frustrating part of that is we were supposed to have power. Just like the people that lost power were supposed to have power. So since they retracted everything and price gouging is allowed, everybody's rates went up. Bad. So much to the fact that companies started telling people to switch providers. In anticipation of this happening, told them to switch providers. But it takes more days than they had for the providers to switch. It should not be legal, but it is right now. So for the services that people are supposed to have, they're going to get middle of a pandemic. People can barely afford to survive. And if they were fortunate enough to have the services they were supposed to have, will be hit with potential bills of thousands of dollars. How is that okay? I only gave you guys a few scenarios of things that I know that have happened to people. I've given you guys accounts of things that happened to people that I know personally. I know people who had to sleep in their trucks, sleep in their vehicles because the power went out, the water was off, so they couldn't put their pipes on a slow drip or anything like that. And even the ones that did, pipes still burst and flooded their homes. Blankets can only do so much in freezing temperatures. And it's amazing to me that these people who are already rich will go so far as to try to make a profit off of people just trying to survive. In the middle of a natural disaster, they're allowed to do more damage than has already been done. I don't get that. I don't think I will ever understand that. Because, nope, they don't care about people. They care about money. They care about their pockets. Doesn't matter that all these people died. Doesn't matter people froze to death. Doesn't matter people lost their homes. People to this day, and it's been a week, are still staying in warming centers. They can't go home. Home was destroyed. And the electric company that I'm with decided that they weren't going to charge people right away for it, but they're just going to defer it. Do you think deferring this amount of money is going to change in a couple of months? If they can't afford it now, it makes you think they're going to be able to afford it then. ERCOT failed Texas. The governor failed Texas because they decided to put Texas on its own grid because they didn't want to abide by the federal regulations. And now people have lost their lives and their homes because of it. Because no matter what you feel or what you think, people should not have to try to survive in a winter storm. They should just be able to. Especially in this country, right? It's difficult to survive when you don't have running water and you don't have power. I'm glad that and thankful that we were okay. That our neighborhood was okay. I called and checked on some people to see if they needed anything and that we could possibly get to them, or if we had anything in our home that they might need. But, geez, man. But this state had to go through in 5 days. It's crazy. And the craziest part is, even the people that were lucky enough to have power every now and again, that bill is still going to be outrageous because the rate was so much higher than normal. So even if you had your power cycled on and off, those few days, your bill is probably going to be, for those 4 days, 4 or 5 days alone, your power bill is still going to be more than what you normally would pay for a month. 4 or 5 days being more than a month. I honestly pray that they do something to help. That is so crazy. $10,000 for 4 or 5 days of power that they were supposed to have to begin with. That is absurd. That woman had to had to shut that account down because the company that she was with takes money over time and they had already wiped out one of her accounts. How is this okay? How is it fair? There's another man here who had a 2-bedroom house that was for sale. No one lived there. All the lights were out. And he had the temperature set on 60 so the pipes wouldn't freeze. They took $680 out of his account and he still owed $2,300. 4 days. And these are real stories. You would think this is something that's made up and this is real. 4 days? That's a mortgage. A mortgage. So if you guys could, please say a prayer for the families that have been impacted by losing loved ones who lost their homes, who are still in a hospital recovering from the effects of hypothermia, who almost starved, the ones that still are in warming centers, the hands of the people that are trying to help save them and keep them alive, the FEMA and the services that have come down to try to help in any way possible, guys, because you get out of one storm and literally walk right into another. And not just those people, but please pray for these people who have to figure out how to pay these bills. In the middle of what this country has already been going through, and so many people being impacted, losing their jobs, heart kind of hurts for them. Because we're going to get hit with something. I know we are. And I just give it to God and keep on moving. This has been a rough week. I'm glad and thankful that my people and my family, the people that I know, are okay. That's what I mean when I say my people, you guys. I'm trying to offend nobody. My people is in my family, my friends, the people that I know from back home, that they're all right. Some of them had a really rough go of it, but they are okay. Because everybody wasn't as fortunate. Everybody didn't make it out of this. And as heartbreaking and as tragic as that is, it's true. Everybody didn't make it out of this. So for all you people who keep saying it's not a natural disaster, and we dealt with worse back and such, why does it always have to be our disaster outranks yours? It's just because we didn't have as bad a storm, it does not mean it was not a storm. You guys have a good day. Stay safe. Be blessed. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.